Hey, g'day guys, it's Adam from Video Show Me How, and in today's video we're going to be checking out the EcoFlow River Pro portable power bank. We'll do a full unbox, we'll check out all the different features that this guy comes with, and then of course we'll finish up with some quick tests of some random power stuff that you may use this guy for, so we can see how it performs. Now, I've done a bunch of other power bank reviews on the channel, so if you haven't checked those over, I'll link them in the video description down below, so head on over and check those out. There's some more power bank videos coming out soon as well, so subscribe to the channel if you haven't already and tick the bell so that you're notified when the new videos come out. But without further ado, let's get started. Warranty and cable box. EcoFlow River Pro. Instructions. Power cable, car cable, DC connector. So after the world's fastest unboxing, here is the unit. It is nice and compact, and dimensionally it comes in at 28.9, so 29 centimeters in length. It's 18.4 in depth there, and in height is about 23.5 centimeters. The weight of this guy is easy to carry around. Comes in, it's got a bit of heft to it, but it's only 7.6 kilos and has this pretty cool carry handle on the top here, which makes life nice and easy to really just grab this guy, throw it in the car, and get ready to use it. Now, the all-important tech spec that we're interested in is how much capacity we've got. Now, this one is 720 watt hours, or about 60 amp hours at 12 volts. Now, if we have a look around the unit, you can see at the front here, we have all of the business happening. We've got all of our ports and outputs, and even a little light that we'll check out in a second. On the side here, we do have our fans. This will automatically kick on when needed, when it's doing the crazy fast charge that we'll check out later on. And then of course, we've got our outputs to our AC power, as well as a little expander port there where you can link two of these guys together basically to add to your capacity. And on this side, this is where our sort of charge inputs are hidden underneath our little clip here. So we'll pull these apart in a little bit more detail so we can see what you get. Now, if we turn the guy on, it's just a matter of firing it up like that. You can see we've got this really nice screen like all of the EcoFlow units. We've got a really nice output, really easy to read. Then as far as our USB outputs here, we've got a bunch. We've got 4 in total, 3 A's and a C. We've got our fast charge here. That's going to output up to 28 watts, which is pretty cool. Standard ones in the middle here as well for some charge. And then all importantly, this guy here, we'll see that in a minute when we just show the laptop charging. We have a USB-C, which is a PD USB-C, and that is good for 100 watts. Now that is a pretty big deal for a smaller unit like that. Moving on over to our DC output, we do have our standard DC cigarette lighter plug, a little socket there. And then we've got a couple of our smaller DC connectors like these guys here. Not used as much, but cool that we've got one of those. We'll see that in action in the test. And then pretty cool here as well, we have a little light. So this is quite a spotlight, not really a floodlight. If we flick that around, you can kind of see that in action there. So that's pretty handy though, that if you're using this in a you know, a tent environment or something like that, that's cool to have. You don't need any separate torches. Now, if we fling this around, the other one we really want to talk about is our AC, and that's the fact that this guy has a 600 watt inverter. It does peak up to double that. Down the side here, that's at our expansion port. So if you wanted to double your capacity, EcoFlow do another unit, which is essentially just the battery version of this. So if you wanted to double your capacity, you've got that option plugging in on the side. So that's all of our outputs. Now let's have a look at how we get power back into the unit. On the side here is where all of that action happens. We've got our little flip up section here where we've got our Extreme Charge. Now that is pretty cool with this unit. And we'll give that a demo in just a sec. It uses just a standard sort of PC connector here, like you can see. It's nothing, you don't need a separate brick or anything like that, like some other units you got to carry around this other whole sort of brick with you as well as a power cable. We do have our car cable here. So our standard cigarette lighter plug input. So that's a good little summary of the bits and bobs that it comes with. The only other one I really want to mention is the fact that there's an app for that. There's a Wi-Fi input to this, which is pretty cool. We'll fire that one up when we get stuck into the testing and I can show you how it works. For now though, I reckon let's get stuck into a bit of a demo of us putting power into it so you can see how all of that works. And then we'll move on to doing some tests so we can see how the unit handles power coming back out of it. All right, so let's get some AC plugged into this guy. Just plug him in like normal. get it plugged into some power. We'll flick it around so you can see what's happening. So I'll turn this on and then we'll see what happens. We can see our input watts climbing there. Starting to get serious now. You can see it gently increases the power. Nice and healthy for the battery. And there we go, we're up to our 600 watts input. And you can see our remaining time there displayed. We're only sitting at an hour, which is pretty awesome. So we're going from pretty flat, already gone up 1%. We're going from that 29% to full in that about an hour's time, which is pretty cool. So that's your AC in action. Now I reckon let's go over to the back of the D-Max on the StoreMod. Let's plug this guy in and you can see how the car version, the car charge, works on the unit as well. So here we are at the back of the D-Max. We're on our StoreMod panel. We'll just fire up our power output and plug into our 12 volts. You can see on the side here, we'll watch and compare the difference between the two. There we go, all plugged in. So we're saying 21 there, we're up to, there we go, 7 amps, 9 amps, 10 amps. So it looks like we're settling down at about that 8.5 amps input, which is really good. We're almost sort of maxing out there. If we have a look on our screen, actually put it in here, it might be a bit easier, we're in direct sun here. I don't know if you can see that, but we're sitting at about the 100 watt mark there going back into the battery. And it's saying from about 31%, in about 5 hours time it'll be full. So that's not too bad. That's sort of, if you're driving around, I guess, and you're heading to a trip, at least you're able to get some charge back into the battery at about that 8.5 amp rate, which isn't too bad. Right, so we've checked out the few different methods that you can use to get power into the unit. I reckon now let's check out running a few little tests on some fridges and bits and bobs and charging stuff to see how it works getting power back out of it. So first up, let's just fire up some basics. I've got some camera batteries here. We've turned on here, which is good to see. And then what we should see on our screen, if I plug that in properly, there we go, we're drawing about that 9 watts. And you can see we've got a little icon here as well saying our USB's plugged in, so that's pretty cool. It gives you that update. You can see at that rate, we're charging for about 24 hours of output, so plenty of charge to do that. I reckon let's also turn on our laptop. There we go, we're plugged in. So we're drawing 9 at the moment just with this. There we go, it's recognized we've got our USB-C plugged in as well. And boom, now we're up to, look at that, 70 watts. We're floating around that sort of 65, 70 watt mark. Now I thought at this point it might be good to show you the app in action so we can see we've got our little Wi-Fi app. I've just connected it to the app and it looks a little bit like this. So the beauty of this guy is that it gives you a bunch more detail. You can see we've got a similar sort of output that we have to our screen, but the benefit is you can kind of read it from anywhere. We've got our little fuel gauge here. You can see roughly how long it's going to last, what our current output is, what our current input is. So for example, if I plug this guy back in and turn it on, you'll see that jump up and we'll have some input flick in here as well in a second as it powers on. So there we go. We can see that connecting in now on our main screen. And there we go, our app's refreshing as well. And we can see, so there is a, there's a couple of second delay there by the looks of things from what's going on with the unit versus what's coming through to the app. It is via Bluetooth, but there you go. So we've got input there of our 600 watts. Our X-Boost is kicked in for our extreme charge. So that's pretty cool. And we've still got our output with our two devices charging. So I reckon from here, let's see this guy running the fridge. So to do that, we're going to be using our DC, so we can just turn that on there like that. Let's plug it in, and we can hear that turning on. There we go, it's powered up there. Now it is worth noting, this is startup current, so you can see how much it's actually drawing. If we pull these guys out to give you a bit of an idea, so we're isolating how long you'd be able to run the fridge for. So at 34%, that fridge in startup current, and of course it's going to, once it gets down to temperature, that the compressor and it's going to cycle sort of in and out, so it's not going to use that current the whole time. But you can see, even if it was at 34%, you're getting, what have we got, 6, 7, sort of fluctuating with that current, but maybe average of 5, 6, something like that, hours of use at 30%. So I'd say with it fully charged up, with a sort of a 45, 55 watt fridge like this guy, the Brass Monkey, you're good for an overnight trip for sure, because this thing's going to settle down to sort of that 5-10 watt mark when it's just in sort of standby mode and when it's hit temperature. So there you go, that gives you a bit of an idea of what kind of juice a fridge is going to pull, and then sort of how long you're going to get. This is just a standard 18-volt battery charger. These are pretty common these days to take these kind of batteries out camping and on trips with you, maybe on the work site. So let's plug that guy in. Got some lights going on here, which is good. And like magic, we've changed batteries because the other one was full. And you can see there's our output, 71 watts or so. So there you go, we can charge those up, and even at 33%, we're lasting for about 3 hours charging batteries non-stop. So that's definitely a win as well. All right, from here, I reckon let's unplug that. Let's start testing a couple of AC appliances to wrap up our test. So here we go, we've got a couple of different units. We have our standard old faithful here, our milk frother. So if you're out on a picnic, that kind of thing, you can make your frappuccinos and your cappuccinos and everything else. It is our 500 watt test, the standard one we do. So this is going to be right at those limits for this particular unit. We want to fire up our AC inverter here on the side. We want to plug it in. We can see that there's our little inverter icon that populates there, and then we hit the old button, boom, 500 watts straight up. So there you go, that gives you a bit of an idea. Now at 33%, this is only going to run for about 24 minutes. So of course, any sort of heating or cooling is going to use most of the juice. All right, so final test, which is always the bit of a test that we tend to do with these units, is we want to use something that's completely ridiculous and we shouldn't really be using. This is the angle grinder. Now it's actually, this is 800 watts, as you can see just in there. So this shouldn't really run it. So I'm being a bit unkind here, but we're going to give it a crack because it has all of the battery protection built in, where it will turn this off as if it's drawing too much power. So we'll get this guy all connected up. So here we go, let's see. So there you go. I mean, it runs it. We were only drawing that sort of 300 odd watts, which is a fair bit lower. I'd say this wasn't running at full tilt, which, you know, probably isn't the greatest for it, but it did run it. Confirmed, even on a small little unit like that, it may run some power tools. So pretty cool. But there you go, guys. That is the overview, review, and test of EcoFlow's River Pro portable power bank. Like I mentioned before, there is a bunch of reviews on the channel of alternatives to this and different versions, bigger ones, smaller ones. So head on over to the channel and check out that section. Let me know in the comments, what do you think? What do you think about a smaller unit like this? A little bit better on the hip pocket as well. What would you be using something like this for? I'm kind of picturing day trips and sort of the overnight trips, maybe running some small devices, maybe a small fridge. But I don't know. Let me know in the comments down below. As always, a massive thank you to the patrons of Video Show Me How. Bunch of legends, thank you very much. But other than that, guys, as always, I hope that you have an amazing day, and I will see you in the next video. Cheers, guys.